Could Boise State's Ashton Jeanty be a top 10 pick? Was the Heisman Trophy finalist good enough to be in consideration for that? Ryan, let's dive in here. He was unstoppable.
Yep.
We knew how good he was. We all saw the highlights. He was running past a bunch of G5 dudes. He still had some good production and some big plays against Penn State and Oregon. We saw what he could be capable of. We saw that he could be extremely dynamic against top talent if he were to move on to the NFL. If you were to break him down in one statement here, how would you describe him?
He's a 3-down back with tremendous physicality, great contact balance, and he understands how to make guys miss in tight quarters. This is a tackle-breaking machine, which is why, even though he's a G5 running back, quote-unquote, it's going to translate to the next level, and I think he has 3-down upside and plus starter upside on the NFL level.
Yeah, all of the traits, they translate. We're not talking about a guy that racked up a bunch of yards like in the past where there's been plenty of college running backs who have had crazy yardage totals that would go on to be day 3 picks. The way that he was doing it was so unbelievable. The power, the contact balance, the feet. What makes him so dangerous that this is going to come to fruition, that he'll be a great rookie and a great pro?
Well, I think it's the ability to make guys miss in small spaces, kind of like I mentioned, right? Like for me, the ability on the first to second level to find good vision, but then also to make players miss in small windows, like that is things that translate to the next level. Like there was a run against Penn State where he broke like 4 or 5 tackles for a first down in like a 3-yard window. Like he was able to do all of that work. And I think that when you talk about a guy that's a little over 5'8", but 217 pounds with that type of contact balance and vision, you add in the fact that he was an all-state wide receiver in high school, and we've seen the pass game chops that he has. This is a player that on all 3 downs can affect the football game. Soft hands, contact balance, good explosiveness. It's all there to be a starting running back, a 3-down back, and a difference maker on the NFL level.
The biggest part was the vision that you just talked about, where a lot of times we'll get these guys that are great athletes, but maybe just don't have a feel for the game. He has enough reps in his career at Boise State with the amount of carries that he saw that he knows how to navigate through traffic. That also coupled with his ability just to bounce off of tacklers. It's like watching a pinball with the football, trying to find and continue to fight for those extra yards. He churns his legs so well. For a guy that's 5'9", he runs to an extent like he's a 240-pound running back. That is what is just so astounding for him as a prospect. If we had to identify any weaknesses, what would they be? I think that the main one for me, him being such a big splash player, he's one of those dudes that sometimes he runs a little bit too east to west, and that was part of how Penn State was able to beat him. They were stringing him out along the line of scrimmage and hoping that he would try to bounce things out too much, and that was what led to some of the easy stops.
Well, I think the 2 biggest things, and one isn't a major concern because he didn't have a ton of issues with ball security, but we did see ball security pop up against the Penn State game because when he has so much extra effort, I do think that you leave yourself victim to some potential shots and some guys kind of grappling at the football. And I think that plus game speed from the Penn State defense, that's a little more translatable to what you're going to see on the NFL level, obviously. So we saw some ball security things. He'd only had 2 fumbles going into that football game, so I'm not like super concerned about it. But when you're talking about these NFL speed, that is something to kind of keep an idea about. But I think the other thing, Joe, is that I think the explosiveness is good for Ashton Jeanty. I think he gets up to top speed well, but does he have the consistent second, third gear to create explosives all the time on the NFL level? I think the long speed is just average for NFL standards. So again, it's not like a big issue of, wow, that is going to hold him back. That is a really hindering trait that he has. But I do think it is one conversation of, is he going to bust off a bunch of 40-plus yard runs? I'm not really sure. He's more of a triple hitter than I think that he is a home run hitter. But either way, I think he'll be a tremendous player. But if you're drafting him to be an explosive play weapon all the time as far as creating big runs, 40-plus yarders, I don't think that's quite his game due to the lack of long speed.
If he runs in the 4.5s, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I think that that's plausible, but he's also capable of being a 4.4 runner. The question that we now ask ourselves, though, where does he stack up against other premier running back prospects that have gone early in the last 10 years? The value of running backs, it's really ebbed and flowed in this period of time where there was no reason to take one in the first round, and then now we're back to seeing the value of having a Saquon Barkley and a Derrick Henry and a Bijan Robinson. I think that he's a little bit behind Bijan. I think that he's just a little bit behind him. Saquon is different on another level. Yeah, so we can't find a comparison there.
Yeah.
He feels more in that Christian McCaffrey, Bijan, Leonard Fournette discussion point that is more in the middle of the first round, rather being worthy of talked about in the top 5.
Well, I think for me, so yes, Saquon Barkley was number 1, the best running back that I have ever evaluated, the highest graded running back that I've ever evaluated. There just wasn't a limit to his game overall, outside of maybe some patience inside the tackles. But I think when you compare him to those players, Bijan Robinson is a fantastic conversation because it's the most recent one. Bijan is obviously a better athlete overall than Ashton Jeanty, but I would argue that Ashton Jeanty is a better all-around player coming out of Boise State. Now, when you're projecting the NFL level, upside matters, right? And Bijan Robinson can do more than potentially what Ashton Jeanty could do. But Jeanty, with the things that he brings to the table is that he brings a high floor. Like, I know he's going to be a good NFL running back. Is he going to be quite as good as Bijan will be at his peak? Maybe not. But I do think the floor conversation is very interesting. So I think he's in that conversation point. But yes, he's not quite a Saquon Barkley level back. I think that he's more a top 20 NFL draft pick that could go top 10 than he is a no-brainer top 10 NFL draft pick.
Folks, let us know below, where do you want to see Ashton Jeanty play in the NFL? Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and share with your friends. We'll talk to you later.